You have to prioritize the seller. You have to market the books as hard as you can and promote them the best you can. And the buyer gets a great deal by being able to start at $1. Teaching a person that's 85 years old what water damage is and how that affects a book is like, it just doesn't get retained. It comes down to the trust that they have in you. I think all of us as a community have like an obligation to tell our friends about comics. If we can increase the buyer pool, like if everyone watching this just went and told 5 friends about comics and how cool they are and how great the community is and how fun it is to build a collection like you have on your wall, Swag, that would definitely help the market.
Every time a Comic-Con passes by, you hear the same complaints. Wall book prices are outrageous. Dealers are asking for crazy numbers. And between travel, tickets, and hotels, your collecting budget is busted before you ever set foot on the show floor. But here's the irony. While people moan about comic prices, some of the absolute best deals in the hobby are happening every single month. I'm talking about auctions, not just the big ones everyone tracks, but the smaller houses, the eBay listings that slip under the radar, or the local venues where people buy books for shockingly cheap numbers. So why don't people take more advantage of it? Is it because they don't know where to look? Are they intimidated by the process? Or do they just think that small auction houses are not where it's at? Well, today we're going to get to the bottom of all of it. Joining me is a comic expert, one half of the Comic Book Boys. We have JAMO, the founder of CBB Auctions, here to talk about auction sales, what buyers don't understand, what consigners get wrong, and why small auctions may be the last great opportunity for collectors in today's market. JAMO, thanks so much for hopping on the channel, man. It's great to see you. How are you doing tonight?
Dude, can't complain. Just sweating back here in the Southern California, like heat in my warehouse, going through books and collections for people. We've been putting together packs and selling, man. So it's been hot recently.
That's the life of the comic book auctioneer, you know, just all grit, no glory, at least until, you know, the auction is over and when you guys get to celebrate, which you guys actually do have an auction that is happening this weekend. We're going to talk about that soon. But before we dive into the nitty gritty of it, maybe you can kind of give a little bit of an intro of like how you kind of got into comic books, and then maybe more specifically after becoming a dealer, like how you made the jump from dealing into specifically running an auction house like CBB Auctions.
Yeah, so it all started obviously with the love of comic books, right? That's where we all kind of started. And then you know, when I was younger, going to garage sales, you know, just hunting out there, getting out there on Saturdays, having fun, trying to be the first guy there at 5 a.m., fighting off 100 other people. That's where it started. And then you know, one thing kind of led to the next, and all of a sudden we had more and more collections, and we were looking for ways to sell them, and we built a reputation at conventions and started meeting local customers. And then our customer list just grew and grew and grew. And next thing you know, we ended up with an auction house, and now we're getting, you know, like 1 to 2 collections a week. And people call us all the time. And it's just been this process that, to be honest with you, I didn't even expect. You know, it was kind of once the snowball starts rolling, it just gets bigger and bigger, you know?
Right. So, but like, so you're starting to get into comic dealing and you have all this inventory coming in, and I'm sure you're doing shows and local things, and you probably have like a little bit of an eBay account, but I'm curious, like what that step is for you to decide like, oh, we should do an auction house and like create our own website and do this, and like why that process. I have my own ideas. I assume that like it's a great way to, you know, move inventory to get people excited and create moments in time where there can be people that tune in and know that there's going to be like good books up for sale at a certain moment in time. And it's a good way to process a lot of the inventory and have people get good deals and kind of move along with collections. But, you know, what was it for you guys what made you want to start it?
You know, when you're at the conventions and you have a booth, which we did, there's people that come to you just because everybody else is overpriced. If you have good pricing, people will flock to your booth. But you're not getting the best prices for yourself, or if you have consigners as a result of that, right? People are coming to you because you're cheap. So, I mean, I wouldn't say cheap. I just say under the price of a lot of these wall books that you see at cons that are super expensive, like you said in the intro. So, you know, what we wanted to do was be able to get the most value for our books, and at conventions we just weren't getting that done. So what you want is, if you have a really nice book or a valuable book, you want to be able to get that and market that nationally. You're basically running like a full-time convention anytime you want, when you're doing buy it nows or auctions when they're timed, and you can segment the people that are interested in those books. You can look at people that have paid a certain price point, or people that collect Marvel or DC, or we just added an interest list section on our customer dashboard where we could see what people want and use historical data, and then market the customers that we know that want those books to get the highest amount of value for our consigners. So, we're not going to have just the people that are located around a local convention. We have a national audience that, maybe there's a guy that likes Flash one in Florida, one in New Hampshire, one in California, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in doing it, I guess, what have been like kind of your, I guess, initial takeaways as far as like both from like a buyer perspective and a seller perspective, and maybe like, or at least the feedback that you've heard of like people using your auction house? I know that there's a certain type of satisfaction or certain type of consumer behavior that I enjoy going to a show, but it has some pros and cons, or buying from eBay that has some pros and cons, and then doing auction has pros and cons. But like, I guess, what's your bit or been your feedback, with running a small auction house? Like, what do people like about it, both from a buyer and a seller point of view?
People loved it at the beginning because before we had that big customer list, people were getting some great prices, So
Okay.
one thing we did at the beginning was we kind of, before I would ever go to a consigner and say with confidence that, hey, I feel comfortable consigning your book, is, we would sacrifice some of our own inventory, because like at the very beginning, I wouldn't want to go to someone, and say, hey, look, we can consign your book and get you close to recent sales without the customer list that's interested in it. So at the beginning, we had to obviously, sacrifice some of our own books. But it's kind of a marketing expense. If you think about it, like we spend a lot of money on online marketing. If you sell a book under value when you're just starting, and you started at $1, and let's say it sells at 60-70% of value at your first or second auction, the difference between the price that it sells at and the market value is essentially a marketing cost, because people are signing up to your site, they're bidding on that book when it's undervalued. So as opposed to a buy it now that's overpriced, you're not going to get the same customer growth.
Was that always the choice, that it's like, hey, auctions have to be $1 start? Like, we just have to do it. Let's not worry. I mean, I don't know if you guys do reserves and things like that. I'm sure like you have done it maybe in the past with certain types of things, but like, was that kind of the initial idea, was like, hey, this is just the most transparent way to do it. $1 start, let it rip, whatever happens, happens.
$1, let it rip is the best for customer growth. It's the only way to go. I think one time we put a reserve on a book. It's not fun, like you want to start that thing at $1 and, let it roll, and that's where it comes down to marketing. You need to, we really, really market, we promo on our social media, we promo through our email list, we hit up our current customers, and not just like mailers that we send out blindly to people. We're like trying to send out emails that are actually useful to our customers. Like, hey, this is a book we want.
Right. It's funny because like, whenever I look at like auctions, and I've definitely used you guys a lot, and I've bought stuff, and I've definitely been able to find some good deals. I've definitely been like, oh, I thought I was going to snipe it, and then this book ended up selling for more than fair market value, which to me, I'm like, it's such like, I mean, with auction houses, it's such a crapshoot. I'm always surprised that even in the small houses, things can be competitive. But you did mention like the goal was to sort of get around like 90 or 95% of fair market value. I guess, can you say more about that? Like, talk about like if I'm a consigner and I know that, oh, I might get 90, like, why might that be a good thing? I understand why it would be a good thing from a buyer perspective. Absolutely. But like, what's kind of been like your conversations and like unpacking that, and like, just even your approach to doing an auction house when you have like big competitors like the Heritages of the world and the Comic Links, and like, where do you guys sort of see yourself in relation to all those things?
That's a great question, and a lot of marketing money. We put a lot of marketing money to grow that customer list so we can compete. And the more customers we have, the closer we're going to get to that 100% of value, or hopefully one day, once the market turns in general, which I think is a different conversation, but setting new highs, right? But what differentiates us from these other auction houses is that we go and pick up the whole collection. A lot of these auction houses will go in there and leave your dollar book, leave your $5 books, leave your $10 to $20 books. We go, we'll consign it, take it all, sell the dollar books. You've been to our warehouse sales. We'll sell it all. We don't cherry pick people. And that's where, at the beginning, especially, our added value kind of made up for maybe the fact that the keys don't sell at 100% of value, but we're selling bulk that everyone else is ignoring.
You've been running your auctions for, I think, a year and a half now. Is that right? A year and a half or 2 years?
It's coming up about 2 years, yeah.
Okay. What's your just general, like, just feeling of where comics are right now compared to like a year ago and 2 years ago, whether it be from like buyers or like, are you feeling more collections coming in, meaning more people are like, oh, I want to get rid of my comics, or less people selling? Like, just, I guess, what's your like general state of the market feeling without any, like, say, hard data?
I'd say that first of all, it's like basic economics, right? So if you have a key book, there's a certain number of them that are on the census, right? And I think all of us as a community have like an obligation to tell our friends about comics, to expand the buyer pool. We need more buyers, just in general. Like if we can increase the buyer pool, like if everyone watching this just went and told 5 friends about comics and how cool they are and how great the community is and how fun it is to build a collection like you have on your wall, Swag, like we would increase that buying demand. And, that would definitely help the market in general. That's one idea. But every day, every time a new collection comes to market, we're essentially increasing the number of books into a demand pool that might not necessarily be growing as fast. We have a lot of original collectors that send us their stuff. So I wouldn't say people are leaving the market. I would say, what I would have to do would be like maybe look at the average age of all of the customers that we have registered to kind of get an accurate flow of like maybe the age of the average buyer, or maybe even like look at their activity to see if like, hey, someone hasn't logged in a while. That might be an accurate metric, so we're not making assumptions necessarily, because it's hard to kind of like forecast such a big market without looking at hard data. I think a good way to do that would be to like look at what percentage of our customers are logging in this year versus next year. Because like if, like let's say we had our current customer base and less and less percent of them are interacting, then we know potentially the market's decreasing or people are leaving, and compare that against total growth. It would probably be a complex equation. So
right.
I'm trying to think about how to answer that. That's a tough one.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, hopefully there's more interest now, because we have a company called PSA that recently entered the comic market. They're kind of looking at, seeing this as an opportunity. What's kind of just been your initial thought of a PSA coming in, and what do you think of their cases and everything like that?
I think competition is healthy for the market, don't you? Like, we need more competition in a market that's dominated by one major player. I mean, do you know the exact stat of what percentage of cases are CGC slabbed? It's something pretty big, right?
I don't know, but it's got to be like 95%.
95%. That's never healthy. I don't think that's healthy for any market when you have a monopoly on a certain whatever the product is. But in this case, I think it's a great thing. I think the more grading companies we have, the better, dude. I think we need a couple more so people have more options. When there's an issue, there's other alternative options. I mean, it's good in any market. So I think that's cool. I think it's good that they jumped in. I do like the CGC cases. The CGC cases have always been pretty cool.
Yeah.
And to touch back to okay.
Oh,
go ahead. Yeah. Okay. What I was saying is one of the reasons that we like to sell books raw is because a lot of these books come from original collectors. And so, Brian and I both grade the books that are keys. And we never look at prices before we're doing any grading. So we'll always grade the books, look at them, both agree, and then look at prices. So our grades aren't influenced by price. And then people really trust our grades.
Yeah. And so is that like a kind of thing where when you are interacting with like original owner collections, they're bringing their entire collection to you, you're kind of breaking down, you're like, here's your keys, we're going to auction these here, we're going to do some sidewalk sales for this other inventory, and then are you kind of like managing their expectations based on like grades versus what you think they might get, and then also letting them know that, with the randomness of an auction and a $1 start, it could go for $1, it could go for $1 million. What's that process like?
So you bring them in, you meet with them, and obviously, you show credibility because there's a lot of I wouldn't say bad actors, but they're people that might not necessarily purchase ethically. No one in specific. But we go in there, we do pull the keys, and we say, hey, look, these are your more valuable books. We do a grading education process. It's tough to teach people grading. I mean, teaching a person that's 85 years old what water damage is and how that affects a book is like it just doesn't get retained, right? So when it comes down to when you are teaching someone about grading, it comes down to the trust that they have in you and the credibility you've built, showing them your auction site, your Instagram, your YouTube, sort of the honesty, integrity that you have. And then once you build that relationship, they trust you. And then you take the keys, auction the keys, and then you go on like a live streaming app like a Whatnot or an Instagram, and you sell the mid-tier stuff. And then the bulk, you drag to conventions, you warehouse sales, which we do. You can see right now, warehouse is full of books that have to be warehouse sold soon. And then we do everything we can to get the max value for all of their books possible. And they really like that, and they see the hard work we do. We let them come in and watch the process, send them videos and updates, and people are happy with that.
Yeah. How do you balance like this idea of you have two customers? You have the customers who are the buyers, and then you have the customers who are the sellers / consigners. And like on the one hand, it's like, as a buyer, I'm hoping a book sells for half the value, and then I'm super happy, because I got such great equity, and now I'm like, oh, you guys are the best. I'm going to buy from you guys all the time. And then on the other hand, you're selling or you're consigning maybe a book, or maybe it's someone is selling their collection through you guys or whatever, and you want to get them a high number. So like, do you ever feel like anxious? Are you just like hoping that everyone gets like the fair deal in every single sale? Like what's kind of like going through your head through this whole process, even as you lead up to your sale this weekend?
It's a great question. So the answer is you go to bat for the seller. You have to prioritize the seller. You have to market the books as hard as you can and promote them the best you can. And the buyer gets a great deal by being able to start at $1. That's an opportunity that is awesome. So the buyer kind of takes care of themselves. The key thing is to really take care of your sellers. That's the key. Your consigners, your sellers, they have to come first, because being able to give them an accurate appraisal and then fulfill it and follow through on what you do is something that's really, really, really big. And being able to do that is something that then they tell their friends about. Happy stories create happy stories, so you have to put the consigner and seller first.
The inventory is the fuel for everything, right? Like, you're not going to even have an opportunity to have happy buyers if they're not showing up for stuff that they're not interested in buying. So
exactly,
you have to have people that want to consign, and that's kind of top down from that point forward. And then, like you said, the $1 start, ideally, a buyer is, if they can get it at 90% value, that's still a great win for them.
Yeah. So I mean, and like I want to circle back to the beginning, because we put hundreds of thousands of dollars into marketing. It wasn't cheap. Finding the buyers is at the beginning is very important too. But that's why at the beginning you don't want to take consigners. You want to use your own inventory, because you don't want to have to go to a consigner and say, hey, I'm going to do this for you, and then you let them down. So if you burn through your own book and it sells at 50% of value, then like, hey, at the end of the day, it's a marketing cost to me. It's an added bill. But and until you have the data and you have the confidence to be able to say, hey, I'm going to be able to do this for you, then you can go and start doing that. You don't want to jump the gun and just start auctioning a book at $1 when you have 0 customers. That's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's your own book, then who cares, right? It's your book. But if it's someone else's, it's going to create a bad experience. So you don't want to do that.
Yeah. It's interesting, you talk about like finding buyers and people that are fans of your company and how you guys run things. I'm curious just what you think, like, as I look back on like the comic boom and COVID and all of the ecosystem of comics that have kind of exploded from all of that, like from the comic dealers that have emerged from it, from all the like apps and Instagram sellers and eBay Live and whatnot. And like, think of all of the things that have come like in the last like 5 years,
It's a
since
lot.
this explosion of stuff. And in a lot of ways, you could say like, oh, like there's like marketplace saturation, which I think ultimately is good for buyers because great, I can buy from you guys, I can go to over here, I can go on Whatnot, I can go to eBay, and I have all these avenues to just find whatever I'm trying to find. And in theory, I'm going to be able to find the best deal. But what's just your thought as someone who's running your small auction house, relatively small compared to like say the Heritages and the Comic Links and things like that? Like, what's your thought of having all these different places and marketplaces that exist? Do you think that this is a good thing overall? Does it dilute or like does it become too saturated for comics and sales and maybe even outside of comics? Let's ladder it up to all collectibles and stuff. Like what do you feel about the explosion of the ecosystem of marketplaces?
I think it's a good thing for buyers. More options the better. But it comes back down to what your policies are and how you conduct yourself. If you conduct yourself with integrity, you grade right, you have good customer service, you ship fast. If someone has an issue, you address it quick. If you're marketing and putting your consigners first, you're gonna be one of the people that survives. You'll be there in 10, 15 years and you're going to grow. It all comes down to how you treat humans. It's people helping people. And it sounds silly, but that's actually really how we built this business, by really, really trying to build good relationships and care for people. So as long as you do that, you're always going to have people buying, you're always going to have people selling with you, and people trust you. So other people in the industry don't really faze me personally. I'm not concerned about it. If anything, it gives the whole community more options and it increases the size of the buyer pool. So that's good for the community.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, let's talk about CBB Auctions right now. I mean, there you guys are, Comic Book Boys. You guys have your Comic Book Boys business, but CBB Auctions, where you guys run all your stuff. And you have a sale that's going on in 1 day and 20 hours. So this is going to be Saturday.
Yes.
Around midday that a lot of these things end. Tell me about I guess the process. So how you guys kind of do it is a lot of your auctions are from one collection, or do you guys curate it specifically?
So at this point in time, we have multiple consigners under their books. So there's, for instance, that Flash One's from Oklahoma, Venom is from Northern California. So yeah, so it's a wide variety of consigners that send in the books.
Right. And I guess tell me about I guess let's talk about the two kind of bigger ones here. I mean, a Flash Comics one, first appearance of the Flash, a Golden Age book. It's always like a little bit interesting. On the one hand, with a lot of Golden Age books, you kind of have to let them sell at auction, because it's not a lot of people that are always showing up with the budget for a buy it now, on a book like that's a 5-figure book, and then you have something interesting here, like a Venom Lethal One. That's the Error variant, which I think is one of the coolest Copper Age books.
I love that cover. I love that cover.
Yeah, it's so cool how this one goes. If people don't know, when they had the Venom Lethal, some of the books missed the red foil printing on it, so you have this black rendition, which is much more rare than the red foil one. And these tend to sell very expensive, and people are definitely into collecting this stuff. Talk about I guess a little bit about these books. When you're kind of looking at this one, very particular type of buyer looking for this type of book, very particular type of buyer looking for this type of book, and this is kind of that Wild West a little bit, right? Where it's like you guys are like the small auction house. Like if I was looking for this book, I'd be one of those 21 people watching this. Like this would be the one I'd be salivating for, being like, oh, what is this going to sell for? I guess talk me through a couple of these ones.
Definitely not a book, either one of those that we would have auctioned off in our first 6 months, for sure. that would have that would have not been something that would have sat well with me at night. But yeah, no, we have the base now. So that Flash One, I know Heritage sold one somewhere between like 20 and 22K. Definitely excited about the book. We have the customers. We've been email marketing it. We've been advertising it. So I'm pretty confident that we're going to do around recent sales on that Flash One.
These things tend to pop up right at the end there. And actually, while we're talking about that, I mean, it's currently sitting at 9,500 with let's call it 2 days left, but 1 day, 20 hours. And it definitely does pop up. But talk about what is your guys's version of the auction, where some auction houses do you put the bid in, it resets 3 minutes. Some are like I'll call it the eBay style, right? You just jam your bid in at the last second and whatever, you get the sniping. Some auctions do the kind of like a 10-second reset. What was your guys' decision in what you guys decided to do, and how does yours work?
So we experimented with that a lot over the first year. You know, we ended up going with the reset. The reset, I think, to 20 to 30 seconds in that range is the most fair thing, because a lot of times what
Mhm.
happens is people are bidding on their phones. If you have like an eBay model where you got to be there at the last second and throw your bid in, and it's just sudden death. I feel like it's not necessarily the best thing for people selling their books, because it's not necessarily the right opportunity. So if you extend the book 20 to 30 seconds each time a bid comes in, it gives people time to reset, look up a quick comp, think about what they want to do, and put their next bid in. So we went with the clock extending option.
Yeah, I'm actually a fan of that. I'm a fan of the
Yeah.
clock extending on, but I think you guys have it right with like 20 to 30. Some
Yeah.
auction houses do 3 minutes, and
No.
to me, I'm like, that ends up dragging it out like another maybe 20 minutes because people will wait for the last second, and it definitely is a little bit of a pain. But I kind of agree with you. It probably helps everyone sort of really think through, okay, do I want to put another bid in? Is this something like I can go a little higher on? And yeah, it probably ends up being the most fair. So yeah, I
What
thought it was interesting because you have, so many, you guys start with the graded books here, of course, but like you have a lot of raw comics as well. And I noticed that not a lot of auction houses do the raws. What was the thought process with that, and maybe more specifically, you already kind of mentioned the grading aspect, like the responsibility of making sure that the grades are accurate. You guys like advertise very specifically, as you can see right here, Superman 233 grade 4.5. Like, I mean, you guys, you're putting it in there. You're
Yep.
leaning forward with your grades, which I appreciate. But talk about that a little bit.
It just goes down to time. It takes a lot of time. Myself and one of my business partners, Brian, here, we both grade the books. You have to check for color touch. You got to check for just resto in general. You got to do page counts. You have to go through. You have to both independently grade it. You don't even want to think about price anywhere near the grading process. You want to go through. You got to go through your checks and balances and then come up with a grade. And people have been happy because we do a good job. But it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So um, I don't think I think it's easier definitely just to, hey, we got a slab, we put the grade in, it's got its number in the corner, and that's that. What is just it may be a 30-second process to photograph it, a minute to upload it, put it, copy over your description, and you're live, right? When you have to grade a book,
Right.
it can be 20, 30 minutes, honestly, on a bigger book where you talk about an error. Hey, how much does water damage affect it in this quantity? Hey, there's foxing here. Oh, look, we have a rusted staple. Let's take that into account. And you sit there and you talk about it, and it can be a process, man. It's time consuming. So
Right.
it's not easy.
Um, any particular books in here that you're kind of interested in or excited about, or maybe I should add to my watch list? That might be a bit
There's
of a
there's de-
steal
there's
here.
de- there's definitely some books that we're focusing on marketing right now. Like we have the Ultimate Fallout 4 is at about 28% of value. The Werewolf by Night 32 is at about 50%. The
Let's see.
the New Mutants 98 newsstand is a really good deal right now. If you search New Mutants at the top up there, the graded version, there's a Stan Lee Sig one, and
This one right here.
I think it's sitting somewhere around $100, and the last sale was around 1,800. So that's a great deal right now. But the majority of the action happens in that last 24 hours, and especially
Yeah.
the last 20, 30 minutes. So, we're at like 50 to 60% of expected value with 2 days left to go, and a big marketing push, and the majority of the bids coming at the end. So I'm pretty confident that we're going to get where we need to be on this one. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You can
that
never. Yeah. There many times my dreams have been dashed when I've seen, a book sitting at 20% the fair market value and like a day out. And I'm like, oh my God, it's going to sell for nothing. And then everybody always shows up at the last second, which is unfortunate from my own selfish purposes.
Yes. You want to like maybe delete the page so everyone can't see it, right? You're like, hey, come on,
Yeah.
guys, hey, look over here, shiny object. Don't focus on that, you know. But
Yeah,
yeah, no,
exactly. Exactly.
but no, that's not whatever happens. You know, you got people that are watching it and they get in there, and a lot of people like sniping. I think you brought that up earlier. A lot of people, they don't want to show their hand early. You know,
Yeah.
I've thought about adding secret maximums. You know, where people can go in and put a secret max, but a lot of people use them. What do you think about secret maximums? Where you can go in and
I,
predefine ahead of time what your max price is.
I think they can be effective. I'll
Hmm.
just anecdotally, there's I just went on vacation and I was, checking around all the various auction houses that were going to be selling all throughout this last week. And I was, going to be not buy a computer or a phone. I didn't end up bidding on anything, but that was the one time I was like, actually, if there was something that I was really interested in and I was on vacation, then having a secret maximum, I think would have been a good opportunity for that. But that's kind of a very specific niche thing. So I kind of like the option, but I can understand why it might just be a better user experience in the same way that a secret maximum might feel bad if you're watching the auction and you get beat by this like phantom number that comes in. It's the same idea as like having a reserve. It sort of feels bad as a user experience. So maybe it's kind of just more pure for a $1 start, and when it ends, and that's it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought too. It's kind of like, oh, you're bidding against this computer, you know, so you bid the next
Yeah.
increment and all of a sudden you get outbid. It's kind of is like a reserve feel. So I've been 50-50 on it. It's something generally I thought about because the flip side of the coin is, you know, someone logs in the first day that's going on vacation like you did, and they throw in all their bids, and then they never have to come back, you know. So I don't know, but then it does feel bad to the people that actually show up that last day and they're competing against essentially a computer, you know. So I'm literally 50-50 on it. I've been having an internal battle about it. Go
Maybe
ahead.
we can get some comments down below, some people, some feedback. Actually, I'd like to hear everybody what they think about the secret max bid, yay
Yeah,
or nay. Let us
let
know
us
in the comments.
definitely.
But
I'll read those for sure.
yeah, but JMO, I mean, I guess I've been taking up a bunch of your time here. Thank you so much for sharing your kind of auction knowledge here. Again, you guys got an auction finishes this Saturday. Maybe you can kind of let the people know where they can find you and keep up to date with CBB Auctions.
Absolutely. Just go to cbbauctions.com, and actually, if you don't mind going back to the homepage real quick,
Sure.
if you go to the top of the homepage, we're giving away an Uncanny X-Men 266 9.8 first gambit. All you have to do is sign up, be a new customer, and win a book, and you're qualified. We're going to do a drawing on Instagram after the auction ends, and once everyone's all paid up, and we're going to give that puppy away, and it can be added to your box. So that's something cool. So back to your question, you can follow us on Instagram at the Comic Book Boys or cbbauctions.com, or we're going to be releasing some YouTube videos this year on original collectors. So we did one last year. We're going to do like a series of 4 to 5 this year. So you can check those out on YouTube. So there you
Awesome.
go.
Well, JMO, thanks so much for taking the time to hop on the channel and let us know all about auctions. Best of luck on the sale on Saturday, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey, I really appreciate it, Swag, and I love your content, and what you do for the comic community is awesome. Really interesting, valuable stuff, man. Genuinely appreciate it.